So we all hate banks, don't we? That's the whole point of gold and silver channels. Well, we might hate them, but we have to live with them. And gold and silver can actually have a pretty big implication on our ability to bank and also maybe to borrow money in the form of something like a mortgage. Banks really don't like when you spend a lot of your money, and gold and silver can be quite a big red flag for them. So in today's video, let's explore a little bit more the implications on your ability to bank when buying gold and silver. Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here, and a very warm welcome to you all joining me for another Precious Metal Ramble. Now today I want to talk about the implications for your bank account and maybe even your ability to bank at all when buying and selling gold and silver. It can have far-ranging implications on your ability to even get a mortgage if you've demonstrated large amounts of spending, and even the selling side of things with money coming in that might be, in the bank size at least, questionable. So I want today in this video to talk about this topic in a non-financial advice way, just to get you thinking about these questions and what you might want to consider if you're either getting into gold and silver or you already are, and how that might impact you going forward so you can prepare. It's not financial advice. It's really important to hammer that point home. It's going to be different for everybody, but I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions on this subject down in the comment section below, especially if you've had any personal experiences of things like applying for mortgages when you've got lots of gold and silver buying history. So I had a customer recently who had sold a bunch of gold and silver through my selling service, and he got in touch saying he's applying for a mortgage right now, and the mortgage company are really going through every little bit of detail on his bank accounts. And they've identified some payments that were made to him from people that he'd sold gold and silver through my service to. And they were not happy with those transactions. They wanted to know exactly what was happening there, going through everything in the nth degree. And we're not talking about large sums of money here either. I think the total sales for this gentleman was around about £3,000. So not a small amount, certainly, but by no means enough to really kind of impact his ability perhaps to borrow money for a mortgage. However, the bank was very insistent. So I ended up having to provide a sales invoice for my services and at least give him a summary of what I did and how I did it. So that was pretty much what we did. I don't know the outcome, whether he got his mortgage or not, but the fact that the bank was really keen on finding out more information about what he was up to, I think is very telling. Now that doesn't stop there, because your ability generally to borrow, certainly in a mortgage, from my personal experience and others too, it's about affordability. And if you've got this demonstration of your bank account of buying gold and silver constantly, if you're buying either from dealers or from second-hand markets, and you've got all of these transactions for hundreds, thousands of pounds perhaps, totaling over a course of a couple of years, the bank's not going to like that. I can tell you that from personal experience, and they will look at everything that you're spending, whether it be your Spotify subscriptions, your Netflix, your mobile phone, internet, car payments, everything. They will look at that in the nth degree, and then they'll make judgment calls on whether or not you're a risk to them at all. And if you're prone to going out and spending thousands of pounds on gold and silver, in their eyes, you potentially are a risk. And whilst that doesn't make sense to a lot of you out there, certainly from a lot of our experience, gold and silver is a great way to save cash and save money. It's not for the banks. Now, I get why, because if we look at stuff like silver, if you buy a bunch of silver right now at its premium, but you need to sell tomorrow, you could be facing quite a large loss. It's a non-traditional investment. It's a non-traditional savings mechanism. And you have to be savvy, I think, to really take advantage of silver, certainly as a saving mechanism. Now, gold is a little easier because of those margins. You don't pay as much when you're buying, and you can certainly get a better price when you're selling, certainly on the premium side of things. He says holding a larger premium coin out here on the camera. But, the point here is that gold is better, but still the banks don't like it. So certainly something to think about if you're getting into this world of buying gold and silver. Perhaps if you're young and you haven't got your first home yet, but you're trying to put some money away, and you think one of the good ways to do that is to put money into your gold and silver accounts, essentially to keep things inflation proofed, then yeah, it is good. But think about how that's going to affect a mortgage application ahead of time. Think about having records, really important to do record keeping for this kind of thing. If you've got you've got nothing to hide, if you're doing everything correctly, then there's no qualms in telling your bank all about this. There's important reasons why you shouldn't lie to your bank when doing a mortgage application, certainly, and it is important to just be as open and honest as possible. It's definitely worth thinking about those kind of things. If you are then selling, it's very important to keep as perfect a record keeping as you can about those for a number of reasons. And we'll talk more about the trading aspect of selling gold and silver in a moment, but just from my own personal experience as a private seller and as a business seller, it's really important to keep those records. If you are ever called into question by your bank about what you're selling and why and where the source of funds are coming from, who you're selling to, it's important that you have those answers. I will link down in the description box below a video by a YouTuber called the Black Belt Barrister. He's a huge YouTuber, 320,000 subscribers, and he is a barrister, hence the name Black Belt Barrister, and he has dealt with clients who have been taking banks through court because they've had their bank accounts summarily closed for selling things, just their own household goods, but they could not justify where the source of the money came from or where those goods came from. And it's dangerous. If the bank suspects you of fraud, the bank suspects you of money laundering or doing things not quite above board, they can and they have in the past just close someone's bank account. And then your ability, like we've seen with Nigel Farage in the last few weeks, your ability to get a bank account in the future could be very difficult. Your credit file could be affected too, and it's really, really important, super important to think about. So if you are selling lots of your gold and silver, it's worth having a think about how you're going to sell it. If you're going to sell it publicly on places like eBay, that's actually pretty safe because eBay will of course take a lot of the details of the people that you're selling to. Now there is enhanced risk of selling, for example, on eBay, but at least there's a real tangential record there, something that you can really call upon if you need to. eBay could look into those records for you too. There's probably going to be those records on eBay for a very long time. I don't know if there's time limits on them, but certainly historically speaking, you can find them pretty easily. If you're just selling to a guy down the pub for cash, good luck with that, because there is going to be questions asked. If they come up, it's going to be very difficult to answer those questions. Yeah, I sold it to Joe Bloggs down the pub for cash, and then they're going to ask for proof. Now, I can share a little bit of a personal story here, which then brings me neatly into the trading element. If you are deemed to be a trader, things can get very, very sticky and very difficult for you in terms of banking quite quickly. So I started out my career in buying gold and silver, and I was using my bank account, and I thought, that's fine, I'll buy my gold, buy my silver, and I started flipping the gold and silver that I had. Short-term profit, that's what I want. I wanted to buy I bought a bunch of different coins from Europe and VAT-free days, bought them to the UK, and then I would put them on eBay, I would auction them off, and most of the time, some I made a few little bits of pounds loss, but most of the time I was making profit on them. And it could be as little as £1 or £2 an ounce. It could be as much as £4, £5, £6 an ounce, which was great. It was a great way to sort of get a hobby, get a seller profile, but I was definitely trading. When you look at that, that is 100% like a business trading thing. Now, a lot of people might go, oh no, it's a private investment. I'm just buying and I'm investing, but for a very short period of time. Well, there are things called the badges of trade. Now, if you're in the UK, it's well worth looking this up on HMRC or just Googling badges of trade. It's something that the banks and HMRC will really look at. If they deem you to be trading, you need to have a business bank account. Most banks in this country will not allow traders, sole traders or businesses to operate through their just personal current accounts. And I got a call from my bank. I genuinely did, and it was quite concerning because they rang me up and said, excuse me, Backyard Bullion. They actually knew my real name, of course, but I'm putting Backyard Bullion there. They said, excuse me, could you explain why there's a couple of £100,000 worth of money that's come in and out of your account over the last few years? And I was like, oh, who are you? Who are you to ask? And the guy said, I'm a member of the fraud investigation team and I'd like to know, please. And I was like, oh, crap, this isn't good. And so I was, cursorily investigated for basically fraud. And then it turned out that it was just the innocent, I say completely innocent. I genuinely didn't know that you couldn't use your current account as a sole trader. You Google these things and say, does a sole trader need a business bank account? And they say, no, you don't. But In certain banks' terms and conditions, they don't allow that kind of thing. Now, I pled ignorance and they were fine with it. It was not the worst case scenario of them closing my bank account down. I just applied for a business bank account, job done, and moved on. Didn't use that current account again, so that's fine. But what would happen to you now in this modern world? It's very different now, and there are banks out there that will just close down accounts willy-nilly, and you might not even ever get an explanation for it. And if you've got lots of money coming in and out, then it could be really quite dangerous as well. There are a lot of people out there in this world as well that will try and do a lot of cash-related sales of their gold and silver. They'll go to coin markets, coin fairs. They might sell coins to traders at coin fairs. They might go as a seller at a coin fair or trade and take cash payments. I've certainly seen a lot of that happening in the past, and that is really sticky. Like, banks do not like that right now. And whilst I don't agree with that, it's the bank's prerogative, unfortunately, to really sort of determine what and who they bank for and with. And it can really get you undone very quickly. All it takes is for the bank to have a sniff that something isn't quite right or might be wrong, and they won't want to have you as a customer anymore. And it could affect your ability to bank at all going forwards. We've seen Nigel Farage have issues getting bank accounts with any other bank out there at the moment. So it's not impossible to happen. And it happens to lots of other small businesses out there as well as individuals. So what can we do as buyers and sellers of gold and silver to avoid these kinds of issues happening? Is it just all doom and gloom? There are definitely things you can do. So from my experience, what I'd say is record keeping is one of the most important things that you can possibly think about having and doing for your gold and silver. It's not difficult to create a simple spreadsheet that will have, an entry line for every single purchase you make. Are you going to buy gold? What did you buy? What its weight is? Where did you buy it from? What was the price? And if it's a private individual, who did you buy it from? Record their name, even record their potentially bank details if you've got those, if you were selling to them, for example. You have entry lines in, entry lines out, job done. You can keep track of your profits there too, so you can really get a grip on what you're spending and buying. Definitely worth doing, certainly if you're buying a lot from various second-hand market sources. It's really important to do that. If you're buying from a big bunch of dealers, that's maybe less important because, of course, you'll have the account records for those on most of their account pages. When you log in, you can see order histories and so on. But it's still good practice, I think, to actually, really keep your own records too. I always keep real physical invoices. That's what I was trying to say. I always try and keep those. I've got a folder with everything. When a physical invoice comes through, I'll just keep that just as a secondary backup. I probably will never use them all, but that's just what I do. So it's worth thinking about. Now, if you're selling a bunch of silver, it's really important that you keep the details of who you sell it to. Now, I'm not saying you should get ID off every single person that you sell it to. That's just ridiculous. But you should certainly be keeping an idea of their name and presumably address if you're posting something out to them. Just keep that for yourself. You don't have. If you're just a private individual selling an investment item, you don't need to worry about sort of GDPR stuff. Although best practice is, of course, keep it safe, keep it secure. But if you're a private individual, GDPR doesn't apply to you. However, of course, if you're a business seller, if you're selling or if you're deemed to be a business seller through the badges of trade that we've talked about, then you do need to have a really hard think about GDPR requirements and keeping things secure and safe. So yeah, there are things that you can do to keep yourself a little bit safer. If you are looking to sell a whole bunch, it's worth thinking about the cost-benefit analysis. Like, yes, you could sell a lot of this stuff on places like eBay and get a little bit of extra cash into your pocket. But if you were just to sell to a single source, it could be a private individual or a dealer, you'd be saving yourself a lot of potential issues. A dealer would probably be the best option, which is why I tend to stick for the vast majority of my long-term investments in gold, because if I do need to just sell it all, I can get it done to a dealer. It's a lot easier to justify, I sold to Atkinson's Bullion or Chard's Bullion and Coins. The clue's in the name. When the bank sees that, if the bank sees that, or if HMRC sees that, then they will be more understanding of it. But if you've got £100 here to Joe Blogs, £500 to, I don't know, I don't know why, but here's an interesting thing in my brain. Henry Cavill's name just came up in my mind. I think it's because I've been watching some of The Witcher. Not a massive fan of Witcher Season 3, but anyway, that's a topic for another video and maybe other channel altogether. But anyway, Henry Cavill, for example, could be your second buyer. Instead of keeping all the individual names, maybe just go for one or to a dealer. Easy, job done. The last thing is that you should always really think about those long-term implications if you're getting a mortgage. If you are either getting a mortgage or you have a mortgage and you're maybe looking to pay it down or refinance it, ask yourself the question, do you really need to buy the gold and silver? Could it be better, beneficial, and more profitable over the long term to actually just pay off parts of your mortgage, pay off other parts of the debt that might be within your life? In my opinion, with the exception of mortgages, because it depends on the mortgage and how your income is and how long you want to be paying that mortgage for, you should not be buying gold and silver unless you're debt free. So you should not be buying cars on finance, phones on finance, things like that. Just don't. You can have a credit card, buy things and pay it off immediately, but be careful about that, because some bullion or some credit card companies will charge you cash advance fees for buying bullion. But generally speaking, you should be debt free as best as possible. The only exception to that, I feel, is a mortgage, but only because you might be trying to save that money for a specific point to then maybe pay down the mortgage when things are slightly brighter on the other side. Mortgages are maybe the exception, but still arguably, if you've got a mortgage, you'd be better off putting money into it than you would to be putting into gold and silver. So all of that is my thoughts and opinions on the subject in a non-financial advice kind of way. I do hope it's been of interest. I know I've rambled on quite a long time this video. We're into the 16th minute, but it'd be great to hear from you down in the comment section what you think about this particular subject, whether you've had experiences of dealing with your bank in a particularly spicy way or not, whether they've played funny games with you when you've made a mortgage application or a loan application. It'd be great to hear from you down in that comment section below. Otherwise, that is it from me. We have got a great video lined up for Friday. I've just been to the old vault. Whoa, throwing expensive coins everywhere. So here's something that will whet the appetite for all my ramblers out there. We've got an In Focus Friday like no others. Lots of big quintuple sovereigns to look at. And that's it. Oh, another little thing. Here you go. Here's a sneak peek. We're doing our gold bars again. They're coming out soon. So if any of you ramblers really are watching to the end and you want one of these, then let me know, because they will be out in the not too distant future. Oh, that one's escaping. There we go. Very exciting times. Anyway, more on that to come. That's it from me. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you on the next video. And as always, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.